Southern Miss, last Sunbelt team standing. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Oh, I'm sitting in the wrong spot. All right. Always like to see Dad over my left shoulder. And then Tony Robichaux, same spot. All right. Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I'm your host, Dave Schultz, hosting afternoons on 103.3 The GOAT here in Lafayette, Louisiana. And Southern Miss is your last team standing. Coastal goes down to Duke. And who will host the Super Regional? Tennessee wins the Clemson Regional, and Southern Miss wins the Auburn Regional. It'll be interesting to see what that decision would be. On the surface, you'd think it'd go in one spot, but then you find out a little bit more information, and maybe it goes somewhere else. All right, so let's start off with a Southern Miss. This game back and forth. A little bit surprised, to be honest with you, that Tanner Hall got the ball. I'm absolutely convinced that Scott Berry, as much as he wants to win a national championship, all right, make no mistake about that. He wants to win a national championship. He is not, in any circumstances, going to put Tanner Hall's career in danger. He just will not do that. So he started today. That's on 2 days rest. Remember, professionally, you get 4 days rest. In college, you get 6, right? He's pitching Friday to Friday. That's 6 days rest. So when you go on 2 days rest, he's probably just going to throw a few innings tops. Like maybe one was really easy, maybe two, and to see how it goes. I mean, I don't even know how many pitches did he throw today. I only lasted 2 innings, and he pitched 30 pitches. 23 of them were strikes, of course. He had a 1-2-3 first inning rather quickly, and then gives up a couple of unearned runs in the second. An error allowed an extra batter to reach, and then a base hit, and before you know it, a couple of runs come around, and that was it for Tanner. All right. Penn takes a 2-0 lead in the second. Southern Miss comes back with a run in the second inning, and then the bats got to the pitching. Penn puts up 3 runs in the 4th inning. It's a 5-1 ball game. I mean, it'd be one thing if this was Auburn. It's Penn. No disrespect. It's Penn. But USM comes right back with 4 big runs in the 4th inning. So they they tie the ball game up. They don't take a lead. They tie the ball game up. It's 5-5. Southern Miss scores 3 in the 6th to take an 8-5 lead. Penn won't go away. They score 2 in the 7th, and it's an 8-7 ball game. Southern Miss scores 3 in the 8th. Everyone relaxes in the 9th. And Southern Miss is into the Super Regional, doing it the hard way. We saw the Cajuns do this in 2014, although they were the host and the number 1 seed. They lost their first game. May have been to Jackson State, and then managed to win the rest of the ball games and get to the Super Regional. Matt Diggs did mention that maybe it took something out of them, although they won the first game of the Super Regional and ahead in the second game of the Super Regional, and they let that slip away. That's a different story. We're talking about Southern Miss. All right, so Southern Miss it's a gutsy performance. I know they knocked out Auburn. All right, so they had to beat Samford, and they had to beat Penn twice. It's not beating Auburn twice. They beat Auburn once, and they dominated Auburn. They had, as it turns out, a bad, 10th inning, right? Justin Storm gave up a 2-run home run. That's really about it. And then he redeemed himself very nicely, thank you, with, I think I put it down. Oh, no, I still got it. With 5 2/3 of a shutout baseball, giving up just 1 hit and 10 strikeouts to Penn on Sunday night. So he redeemed himself from the loss on Friday, eating up, not only dominating and not giving anything up in what was a one-run game at the time. Southern Miss wins 11-2, but that's not until after 8 runs came in the 9th. All right, so he took the pressure off the bats, and he allowed everybody else to rest. That's the deal. When you pitch 5 2/3 innings, it's great if you can eat up innings. It's even better if you can eat up innings and not give everything up. So Justin Storm comes through again, not on Monday, but on Sunday for Southern Miss. And the bats got going again for the Golden Eagles with the 11-7 win over Penn. They take on Tennessee, who won the Clemson Regional. Maybe they've gotten humbled, right? Really cocky Tennessee team, best team in the nation last year, lost at home to Notre Dame. This is what I was told softball-wise. I don't know if it's the same thing baseball-wise. And you know what? We'll tease that. We'll get to that in the final segment. Who is going to host this Super Regional? It'll be out in the morning. Andrew Buddy said 9 a.m. I'm presuming that's Central Time. So we'll find out first thing in the morning, if not before. All right, we'll get to that a little bit later on. All right, but Southern Miss, not really come from ahead. They were behind, and then for a short period of time, and tied. And once they were ahead, they never fell behind. So a nice win for Southern Miss. Again, I mean, Tanner's going to pitch. Is he going to pitch on Friday? I mean, I guess today would be his throw day. I don't know how that works. Usually in the minor, professionally, I was only in the minors. Professionally, usually you get 1 day off, right? You pitch it, you do like long toss the first day. Then the next day you stretch it out a little bit more, and then you do a bullpen, and then you get 1 more day to rest, and then you throw. So this was his throw day, and he's going to have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off. He's just going to throw a long toss, I guess. All right, let's take a timeout. We'll come back. Coastal Carolina, Achilles heel showed through. They ran out of pitching. But first, let me tell you a little bit about FanDuel. All right. Make a fast break to FanDuel during the NBA playoffs because right now, new customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's $2,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. There's no better place to bet all the playoff action than America's #1 sports book. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, I'm not looking good with my Panthers Nuggets parlay. I think the Panthers are going to be down 2-0. And I have the NBA Finals going 6, so that's looking good. And I took a flyer on the Heat. All of a sudden, if the Heat win in 6, I'm in good shape. And I did that on FanDuel. All right, Dave Schultz, back with you, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Coastal Carolina, they also took it the hard way with losing game 1, 11-10 to Rider. And I'll be honest with you, we kind of knew Coastal's, didn't have quite the pitching. I didn't think they were going to lose to Duke at home. I really didn't. If they were in another ballpark, I thought it'd be an issue. But the bats kind of went quiet. It was a 12-3 final. Duke wins. But Coastal got shut out until the 9th. That's not very Coastal Carolina-esque. All right. And Duke just kept on scoring and scoring and scoring. And by the time they got to 11, in the 6th, all right. So now the bats don't have enough firepower or enough outs. But, you scratch across a run in the 1st and the 2nd or the 3rd and the 4th, and you put a 3 or 4 spot up just like Duke did, and maybe you can make a run. But these guys were so tough all season. Eels, the leadoff hitter, Bodine, the freshman of the year in Sun Belt. Nick Lucky. I mean, those guys combined, quick math, 1 of 9. Ouch. Barthol, 0 for 3. So that's out of those 4 guys who seem to crush the Cajuns this year, they were 1 for 12. That's, Coastal Carolina's not going to beat you with the pitching most of the time. They're going to beat you with the hitting. And Duke had more pitching. I mean, give it up to the Blue Devils. They played, I believe, 1 less ball game. And Gao, in fact, the first 3 pitchers didn't give up a run. Gao, 1 hit, 4 innings, no runs. Bielenson, 2 innings, nothing, struck out 3. Aschel with 1 inning, 1 strikeout. Beasley gave up 3 runs in the 9th, but it was, way too little and way too late. Coastal Carolina, has a great team. They're pretty young. This was supposed to be a rebuilding year. This was not supposed to be the year that, they were going to win the Sun Belt or host a regional or go to the College World Series. This was, the young team. They were really good last year. This was a surprise. And maybe they exceeded expectations. But, boy, when you lose your own regional, that's got to be disappointing. And especially with what happened on Friday, you were no-hitting Ryder. I don't know who had a tougher loss. Troy, who was the 1 out away from beating Alabama and being up 2-0 in the Tuscaloosa Regional, or Coastal Carolina, who is no-hitting Ryder through 6 innings and winning like 5-0, and then tying the game up again, and then losing 11-10. Tough loss for Coastal Carolina. They had a great season, really good baseball team, but it got to be a little bit disappointing of a season, right? Losing twice to the Cajuns in the Sun Belt Conference tournament, losing to Ryder, excuse me, and then losing to Duke in your own regional. So a disappointing season. Certainly an ending, not the best ending for Coastal Carolina. I know it only ends well for one team, but I mean, Southern Miss, has a Sun Belt tournament championship and a regional title. They are going to be playing for a chance to go to Omaha. It's not going to be easy, but they're going to have a chance to play for Omaha. All right, let's take one more time out. This will be a little bit of a quicker episode. When we come back, who is going to host the Super Regionals? Southern Miss or the University of Tennessee? All right, thanks again so much for supporting Locked On Sunbelt. Continue to subscribe, spread the word. We got one football coach on. I really need to see if I get Will Hall on. I need to catch up with my guy Will Hall at Southern Miss, see how he's doing. Maybe he's experiencing a little time off. And anyways, we'll get back to the football when baseball is done. But please continue again to share and like the videos. You see it on social media. Do that as well. Anyone who comments, I'm the one answering. It is me. It says Locked On Sunbelt, but that's me. So I will be happy to answer any of your questions. If you need to correct me, that's fine too. Also, don't forget, anywhere you get your audio podcasts, you can find Locked On Sunbelt. Amazon, iHeart, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, the big one. So wherever you can do that, just search Locked On Sunbelt, and you will find the podcast. Nice and easy. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please rate and review. It will be a big help. All right. Now, who is going to host, as we're back, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's see if we can find this Aaron Fitt tweet from D1 Baseball about USM, because on the surface, you would think that Tennessee would host. It's the SEC team, bigger facilities, maybe more up to date. Not necessarily the case. All right. Aaron Fitt put this out here, I thought, or someone did. Let me see it. So First of all, it should be mentioned that because of the Super Regionals last year, all regular season games were sold out for USM. That's impressive. All right. Maybe that's the same way at UT. I know LSU in a bigger stadium, obviously, sells a bunch of tickets, but really impressive for a group of 5 team. All right. Here it is. Let's see here. I don't think this was on the 4th. I don't think a Super Regional in Knoxville is a guarantee, by the way. If Southern Miss can come back to take down Penn and we win that regional, I think the Golden Eagles would be more deserving host. They were like 17th or 18th in line last week. The Vols were further back. All right. So because Auburn, so what I was going to say about softball, if you beat the host team, you get their seeding, right? So Clemson was 4, so Tennessee would be the 4th seed. And in this case, Auburn was the 13th seed, so Southern Miss would get that. Except, and that when that's the case, right? Southern Miss is higher rated as a number 2 seed than Tennessee was as a number 2 seed, right? If you're the number, not the way that it has worked out, but if you are the number 1 seed, right, you don't get the 17th seed. You should get the 32nd seed in theory. All right. For the number 2 seed in theory. Right. And so when you go through the numbers, right, Southern Miss was higher ranked. All right. And so someone puts it out there, believe it or not, it's all about ticket sales. Southern Miss isn't selling tickets and won't host. Aaron Fitt replies, for the record, Southern Miss had 5,400 fans plus at both Hattiesburg Super Regional games last year. Tennessee had 45. That's like, right, one had almost 11,000 and the other one had 9,000. So if it's coming down to ticket sales, Southern Miss is going to get that as well. So I'm certainly hoping it's going to Southern Miss. All right. They could redeem themselves for last year. And boy, I know Scott Berry in the press conference says, I don't want it to be about me. I want it to be about them. It's a little bit about Scott Berry. So good for Southern Miss. Again, the announcement should be 9 a.m. Central Time in May. It probably will leak before then, but we'll put an eye out for it. And we will, I'm actually getting a haircut in the morning, but I will try to quote tweet my own podcast to say who is going to host. All right. So it should be very interesting. Okay. Thank you so much for tuning in to Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. We know what tomorrow is Sunbelt podcast is going to be, who is going to host. And maybe I'd actually had a crossover podcast when the Cajuns played in the NCAA basketball tournament with Locked On Tennessee's Eric Kane. So maybe we get another one this week as well. All right. And again, maybe, Southern Miss has their goals. They came up short last year after hosting, and obviously Tennessee did. Tennessee maybe a little bit more humble this time around with the idea that we can lose, and we're going to play like we can lose. And maybe we play a little bit better with a little bit more urgency than always trying to win at the end. So we shall see how it goes. Again, thanks so much for tuning in to Locked On Sunbelt. I'm your host, Dave Schultz. We'll be back again tomorrow with another episode of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day.